Hello everyone. In this video, I'll be demonstrating the power of an army I like to call the Seleucid sledgehammer. I have lost Seleucid versus Rome matchups before, but never using this particular army. That's not to say it's undefeatable or impossible to beat for my Roman opponent, but it is very difficult, and even with micro mistakes you can pull a victory. As you can see here, I have a small number of hoplites. Their whole goal is to pull the infantry into their spears. Even if they do not serve that purpose, they can at least keep them occupied from any angle while my cataphracts or my Scythe chariots here charge forth. My militia cav is simply to take on the enemy archers and cause a little bit of chaos before the battle begins. You see here I have peasants also. The peasants serve as a meat shield, and they're just there to absorb pila, missiles, delay the opponent so I can better myself, things of the likes. And of course my archery contingent here. They are all gold to my recollection. Yes. And they serve not only to pull the enemy, but also to fight back in the missile war and deal damage to the flanks of his unexposed infantrymen. Excuse me there. So there you have it, my army. 3 silver shield pikes, 1 phalanx pike, 6 gold archers, 2 peasants, 2 gold militia cav, 2 fully upgraded cataphracts, and 4 unupgraded Scythe chariots. Over here, my opponent brought a generic Roman army. 6 Roman archers, loosely upgraded, with 2 archer auxilia. 4 Praetorian cavalry, and a total of 5 urbans, 1 Praetorian, and a triarii. At the initial stages of the battle, I'm quite novice on my use of militia cav. He did manage to catch me there and deal a lot of damage. As you can see, luckily these guys did not rout, but they routed on the far side due to the sheer number of missiles hitting them. And as my militia cav are here, they're drawing the fire of these arrows. I want them to do some damage, cause a bit of chaos here, cause confusion amongst his archers. If you can notice here, these archers were, and now they're targeting this unit, but they're focusing fire on my militia cav as my main body advances towards his line. So even when I have inferior archers, I can draw their fire away with my missile cavalry. And using horse archers, this is far more effective, but sadly the Seleucids do not have horse archers. And I can understand that they were not a horse archer faction. I'm sure in the real world they had mercenaries who fought in a Scythian type style. Excuse me. But as a nation on its own, it just doesn't seem to be them, as they're a more Hellenistic type faction. And at this point, I want to bring to attention my peasants just getting eaten up. This peasant unit's at 37 men. This one has guys dropping like flies. And this is a pretty intense skirmish. I do have a disadvantage, but his men are clumped up in these sections right here. And whenever you clump at an angle such as this from the side, the arrows fall behind. That's why you want your men to be in a straight line parallel to your enemy's archery line. If they fall back like this, say an arrow were to miss this guy, it could hit him, these guys, and so on and so forth. The thinner your archer lines, the better. Of course, keep in mind that there are some negatives. A thin archery line not only spreads your line out, making you have to protect more men on a wider range, but also if they get charged, they will be obliterated. If you see here, I just keep cycling back my militia cav. A better use for militia cav would be for one to watch them more, because again, they get hit. You might be wondering why I take them out of skirmish mode. Well, I intended to control them on my own and pull them back when necessary, because sometimes skirmish will either A, pull your men back when there's no need, i.e. he throws a archery unit a little too close and you're trying to hit a target back here and they run and flee from these guys, or it just doesn't work and you get caught. But if you don't have skirmish on, that can happen too if you're not paying attention. But always make sure to take your militia cav and circle his flanks. And even if you draw some cav away, they're serving a good purpose because they're pulling them off the main battle. So at this point, my peasants are completely gone, which does hurt me a bit. I have a unit here routing with 8 men. They did absorb quite a few missiles, and my archers are a bit clunky too. Now this was an older battle, my skills are not that great, but keep in mind I'm trying to showcase here the strength of this build. And here I make another mistake. I'm assuming I had either A, sent them to attack a unit on the far side they couldn't reach, or B, I aligned them and they're running to their alignment, which was laid out here, and they failed, I failed to stop them. And you always have to watch your units, which can be quite difficult with large armies that are attacking at multiple spots at once. But sometimes things do happen. You have to just keep going. You cannot let one small mistake lead to a domino effect that takes you out of the game. Now here I'm throwing my peasants up. There's only 12 of them, but look, he's discharging quite a bit of Pila. These 3 units through Pila, which is another volley that will not be hitting my main body here. And now I'm creating chaos as I drag my men across. These Scythe chariots run amok pretty much immediate. And here I get clipped by them, but luckily it deals no damage. While this side did disrupt him a bit, I threw his army into chaos over here and managed to catch his cavalry with my other 2 Scythe chariots stationed to ambush and take him out. And here's another nice example. When they do run amok, it's not game over. He caused quite a bit of damage there. Goes right through and bypasses my men. And then, what's he doing now? Oh no. And then goes and clobbers these guys. But these Scythe chariots are really the strength and the bane of Rome. If you can... Strength is the Seleucids. Let me correct myself there. But the bane of Rome. They will annihilate any Roman cavalry one-on-one, and usually they can win a 3-on-1 fight too. And also I want to say something with your Scythe chariots when they run amok. Do not let your cavalry run into them. They will slice their legs to pieces and kill them. These units are for ripping, shredding, and tearing apart your enemy, not your friendly units. So make sure to use them as such. And right as I say that, you see them killing a few archers, but they really do not do too much damage to infantry. Now as this battle closes, it does become a rather gritty fight. I threw my men here to catch them and threw my cataphracts in. And with your cataphracts, you want to switch to maces. Here I'm doing it for 1 unit, another unit still using the lance. And then I throw my men into a phalanx formation to hold this whole body. And my opponent made a mistake here by throwing all his units into one area. You never want to select your units and throw them at one unit, no matter what. Always throw one unit to hold and then flank with the others. And as you can see here now, my main body is starting to encompass a greater number of infantry units than it would be able to if he had taken them on one by one. And with your cataphracts, they can be used for 2 ways, as heavy infantry or as cavalry, which is something that's quite interesting. If you want to use them as infantry, make sure you switch to the mace. And if you want to use them as cavalry, just use them like normal. I prefer to cycle in and out, as that is the best way to do it. And another thing I want to point out, his army was thrown into chaos over here. And in his scramble to reform, I managed to catch some of his units off guard and catch him before he was ready. And with that, you can see his troops are split in multiple directions, thrown everywhere. There's no cohesion here, and there's no way he can beat me. My archers are taking flanking shots. They're off skirmish, so they won't run. I mean, why? If they get killed by these guys, so what? The archers are not what I plan to win with anymore. I plan to win with my cataphracts and my pikemen. Now, many of you might be saying, what could my opponent have done to win? Well, first off, when he saw that I had Scythe chariots, he should have pulled over to the forest. Chariots need maneuverability. Without maneuverability and lack of motion, they will die. That's why if you take a chariot unit, you want to charge into an enemy, and then immediately select a new unit to charge into once the contact is made. Chariots, once they're out of motion, they die. Chariots can be bogged down by a large body of men, and of any caliber. If you were to say throw a bunch of peasants, 2 units of peasants at one Scythe chariot, and then come in with a striking force of cav or urbans from the back, you'd more than likely run those chariots amok and kill them. The reason with the woods though is the wheels and the spokes get caught up in these trees. And say an infantry body was here, the chariot cannot maneuver fully and could get stuck on this tree, that tree, or even that one. And that's how you beat chariots. Engage them in the woods, use cheap throwaway units to bog them down, and the whole time you spend just delaying, shoot them with arrows, fire arrows, rain down hell upon them, and they will run amok and become useless. In terms of using chariots, take them to the open battlefield, one with little to no trees, and use them quickly, use them aggressively, and don't be afraid to just throw them at your opponent because people do panic. I hope this helps you guys in beating the Romans, and this is clearly my best Seleucid army that I've came up with so far, and I'm sure I'm not the original creator, but it did take for me a lot of trial and error as well as learning from others. Viewing the casualties here, my peasants did nothing. My militia cav did little to nothing, and honestly, militia cav is up to you. If you're a good militia cav user, a militia cav player, use them. But if you're like me, maybe they're not the best option, and just some nice light cavalry would be good. Something to kind of help stave off his archers. Thank you all for watching, and again, I hope this helps you in defeating the Romans. Take care.